I know you're going to laugh. There's a reason for the question. I would say have a little bit of a heart, but I don't think you will. Do you feel sorry for Dallas Cowboys fans? No, I know. Probably not. Maybe you should. Because the data says maybe you should. I think I know why Cowboys fans are so miserable, because now the data says more miserable than any other fan base, because most people are going to laugh out loud when you hear this. I think I know why. Other than the obvious, I think I know why. And then you have to ask yourself, do you think it's really true? Is the data correct? They're the most miserable, and I tell you the most interesting part of this, the most angry. I never really picked up on that, but miserable, unhappy, and angry is the trifecta here, and it's apparently backed up by the data. In a sports world, though, think about this. In a sports world that includes fans of the Jets, can you imagine what that's like? I mean, they're always a train wreck. That's a pitiful franchise, a stupid and pitiful franchise. The Cleveland Browns. Think about that. The Cleveland Browns can't get anything right. It's the dark hole for quarterbacks. Everything goes wrong with the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, they're better. But they've been a joke for decades. So why is a new study saying, the most unhappy and disappointed and angry fan base is the fan base of the Dallas Cowboys? Tricked, duped, whatever you want to say. I mean, so what all goes into this is, I think, the most interesting part. I do think I know the variable that puts the Cowboys fans in a more miserable place. Like it's, I think there's some piling on. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, they deserve it. Why are the Cowboys? Let's start here, because I think this is the variable. Why are the Cowboys so despised? It's a fairly nondescript team present day. It's not full of stars necessarily. I know they had a lot of Pro Bowl players, but most people only know quarterbacks and receivers. Most people don't know defensive linemen. Certainly the heck don't know offensive guards. So why would they be despised? Their coach is nondescript. You don't know nothing. You know nothing about him. He's not very good, but the only reason to hate them, the face of the franchise is their owner, right? That is the face of the franchise. No other team is like that. No one's even close. The closest thing I can think of would be the George Steinbrenner days of the Yankees, when he was now they had a bunch of star power. They were winning World Series, so I'm not sure he was the reason why they were loved and hated. I mean, it's a legendary franchise, the most legendary franchise. But I can't think of another situation where the face of the franchise, the guy people love to hate, is not Tom Brady. It's not Aaron Rodgers. It's Jerry Jones. He's the most popular thing, one way or another, with the franchise. So what is the variable that makes them most miserable? Well, here's what's reported today. I have no idea. I do know how they got this. Why now? I'm not quite sure. So SI.com studied fan bases and their social media posts and were rendered as either sad or angry. I don't know whose job this was. I don't know. Sad or angry? Well, guess who had the most? The top 5 is pretty interesting. The most would be your Dallas Cowboys, 389,150 posts critical of their team this season. It should probably be pointed out, it's been, 28 years since they played in a Super Bowl? Yeah. 34,000 posts came after they were kicked in the face by the Green Bay Packers at home in the first round of the playoffs. That's not that surprising. What's second on the list is the Philadelphia Eagles fans, for good reason. They went psychotic. They melted down. 383,230 sad or angry posts. Then the Buffalo Bills at 331,390. The Detroit Lions. Now, I don't know what you're sad and angry about. It's never been better. I mean, Detroit has been... Is it the most Was it the longest suffering franchise? Even more so, maybe more so than Cleveland even? What are they complaining about? That you got knocked out by the 49ers? The way they got knocked out, I guess? But you ought to at least be somewhat satisfied. 331,390 for Detroit fans. Miami, no, I'm sorry, the Detroit was 315,000. Miami was 298,000, blah, 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 blah. No other team had as many negative comments in social media than the Cowboys. Carolina was next with negative comments. The list goes on. So then SeatGeek adds to this, and they compiled all the social media data as well, and they called them the most unhappy, miserable, and angry fans of a franchise in the NFL. Is it in all of sports? Probably so. So why is that? Why would they be so unhappy? Why would they be so miserable? Why are they so angry? Okay, number one, every year, I was guilty of it, they think they're better than they really are. Every year. This year, they were good. It was a legitimate reason. I'm not kidding when I say this. It's a legitimate reason to think they were going to be really good this year, and they were, for the most part. But historically, they've not been good, and people think they are. So number one is fans think they're better than they really are. Browns fans, Jets fans, Raiders fans always know they suck. They go into every season knowing we're going to suck. So there's no expectation whatsoever. Dallas fans, it's just the opposite. In years in which they had no reason to think they were going to be really good, they still think they're delusional. They're delusional. Jets, Browns, Raiders fans are not delusional. They know we suck, always. Number two, the fans of the Jets, the Raiders, Browns, the Cardinals, I'm just coming up with names here of just miserable franchises, the Giants even, relatively speaking, those fans, I think, get a pass from other people, right? Other fans don't hate the Browns fans. Other fans don't hate on the Raiders fans. They don't hate on the Cardinals fans. There's not many fan bases that people openly despise. But, right, nobody hates the Browns. Nobody wants to make fun of the Browns. In fact, most of us feel kind of badly about the Browns. Same with Detroit. Nobody hates the Cardinals. Nobody even hates the Raiders. But people hate the Cowboys. So it's an extra pile on. People hate the Cowboys and hate on Cowboys fans. It's a thing all by itself. The variable that makes Cowboys fans, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's a right answer here, although they're trying to pretend that this is science. The variable that I think makes Cowboys fans more miserable is that people trash them. Like, they go out there, they'll post and they'll post and they'll post, and they'll get trashed too because people just hate on them. It's fun to hate on them. It's a cottage industry by itself. Number three, you're miserable because they're miserable. Because the Cowboys are the most valuable sports franchise in the world. It's valued at $10 billion. It was a franchise that the face of the franchise, Jerry Jones, purchased for what at the time, $189 in 1989, 88, somewhere in there. So it's the most valuable franchise in the world. It's always talked about as the most valuable franchise in the world. It is by far the most valuable NFL franchise. But you have nothing to show for it. It's an empty number. It doesn't even make sense to most people. Why would they be so valuable? They're so valuable. Well, I can give you all the economic reasons why they're so valuable. If you put them on the market, if the Jones family put them on the market, would they get $10 billion? I mean, if Jeff Bezos bought them, maybe. There's not that many people. The Saudis bought them, maybe. There's not that many people that can afford $10 billion. So I'm not sure that they might get it if it came from one of those two groups. Jeff Bezos could do it, or the Saudis could do it. And that's about it. Nobody else could afford $10 billion. So I'm not quite sure it's that accurate, but would somebody pay 6 or 8? You bet. Absolutely. They'd sell in an afternoon. There's a guy who lives in Dallas. They might buy them in an afternoon. That's Mark Cuban. So, yeah, value is what somebody's willing to pay, and people would pay that for the Cowboys. And so when you're a fan, I assume you hear this number all the time. You hear about all the money that is made, and it's true. And then you think, well, God, we're not any good. No, it's true. You are, dollar for wins, the most underachieving entity on the planet. Nothing, dollar for wins, is a worse return than the Cowboys. And I assume the Cowboys fans know it. Then I assume the fourth reason, although you could have 5, 6, 7, or 8 reasons, I don't know, but the fourth reason, Jerry Jones. You're angry and miserable because he makes you angry and miserable. He's the ultimate used car salesman. And that's both a good thing and a terrible thing. And I think fans fall for it all the time because the dude is the ultimate used car salesman. He is, every single year it's going to be great. Every single year. And fans want to believe that stuff. There's no other owner ever in any sport that works so hard at selling their team as hard as he does. I bet you Patriots fans never hear from Bob Kraft. Never. Whoever owns, you never hear from the Chiefs owner until after they win a championship. Nobody goes into every season talking about their team nonstop like Jones. And he sells it. And he oversells it. Every year he oversells it. And I think that makes people mad. And I don't blame you necessarily. He's insufferable. He's the face of the franchise. And it makes you angry. That's how I think, and it's backed up by all the posts, that's how I think you ended up being, Cowboys fans ended up being, quote, the unhappiest, angriest, and most miserable fan base in football.